You're listening to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, episode 53. I'm recording on Wednesday, December 28th, 2022, wishing everyone a happy holidays and a happy new year. On today's episode, friend of the show, industry consultant, host extraordinaire, and Alexa's best friend, Emily Heidel, stops by to interview me on my K-pop origin story. We originally recorded back in October, kind of going over my top 10 K-pop songs of all time, the songs that are most meaningful to me, as a way to ask questions and dig deep of who I am as a person, what my journey has been like since 2010, listening to K-pop, and also served as a look back at 2022. Just all the concerts, all the IRL K-pop adventures, and all the ways that I've been involved with K-pop a little bit more this year. Definitely got to connect with some people in K-pop, which is kind of amazing. Still pretty surreal to think about chatting with Ashley just a few weeks ago. That interview is up. It was the previous video on the channel, so check that out. A nice little 5-minute chat. Yeah, man, that definitely my highlight of the year. I definitely peaked at that point. But yeah, it was just a nice little conversation with Emily, and big shout out to her for putting on her host cap and really digging deep into all these really interesting questions. I think you'll learn a lot about me through our talk. Not a full comeback, unfortunately, but I do want to thank everyone again for supporting and listening to the show, for growing the show for what it is today over the past 2 years. And a big thank you to all of the amazing guests who have brought so much life and energy and different colors into the conversations of just getting to know people, right? Connecting, and hearing different perspectives and hearing how we all got here to celebrate the thing that we love, to celebrate K-pop. Special thanks to OP and Koala, the OGs of the show. Really couldn't have done it without you. You guys are great. Yeah, you guys really kept me sane, and we're super supportive. So just shout out to you guys. And a big, amazing, can't thank enough thanks to the crew, Doug, Warren, and Anita, for bringing so much joy into the conversations that we have here at SojuTalk on the Discord, through the main show, through the community, and through all the special events and games and things that we do to engage people, to bring them in, to start conversation, to find common ground. Just gotta remember, it's K-pop. It's supposed to be light. It's not that deep. And we've had a lot of fun kind of closing out the year. So yeah, just a lot of fun. So yeah, want to wish everyone an amazing 2023 full of life and love and K-pop. Hope you guys get out there and see each other, because 2022 did start to feel like normal. And I can't wait for all the adventures of 2023, because I think we're kind of getting back into the swing of pre-pandemic days, right? All right, everyone, let's get into it. Everyone sit back and chill with friends. You're listening to Emily Heidel interviewing me, Crispy, on the SojuTalk Nation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first interview of this series. I don't even know what I'm going to call it, but I'm happy to be here with our first guest today. We have actually the person who was sort of the catalyst for me to start this and mixing, radio along with podcasting together. And thanks to him interviewing me at the end of August. I came up with this idea. So thank you. And I would like to introduce none other than Crispy Wonton, aka Anton, aka the host and producer slash founder, creator of the SojuTalk Nation podcast. If you listen to some of my previous podcast, specifically Believe in K-pop, I've had the hosts of SojuTalk on. But now there's like a subsidiary podcast, if you will, of SojuTalk, and it's SojuTalk Nation, and Crispy Wonton, aka Anton, is the host of it. Also, he is a part of the community at SojuTalk Discord, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, thank you, Anton, for joining us. Can you introduce yourself? I'm sure you can do it better than I did.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yes, it was an excellent introduction. Yes, my name is Crispy Wonton, also known as Anton. I'm a community member at SojuTalk, longtime member from I think about 2019, so before the years of the pandemic, and got in touch with Doug, Warren, and Anita, kind of midway through the pandemic. Wanted to see if I could spin off and do kind of my own show, like an after show, getting community members on. And it's kind of evolved into this interview show where we do talk about music. We talk about the crew's reactions, but really getting to know the stories and the people and the community members that make it all happen, kind of give the SojuTalk Discord and SojuTalk Nation life. So it's been an amazing project, and I've been really happy to kind of connect with people on a deeper level, because it really does bring me joy to kind of hear the personal stories that everyone brings into fandom and things that they love.
Yeah. Well, I definitely enjoy listening to your interviews. I just have to say, well, I'm going to keep this for the end because it works in with one of the songs that I have. But, one thing before we get started, because it doesn't really work in with any of the other questions I have. And I'm not quite sure if I'm going to put this out on video or like on a platform of any sort, like the video portion. But, of course, a lot of people do video podcasts these days. And I wonder for you, why do you choose to upload video portions of your, or I guess the full video or portions of it on YouTube?
Yeah. So it's something I've been struggling with for the longest time, to either keep it solely on Spotify and iTunes, or to split it up between YouTube. And I kind of decided, because the main show did it on YouTube, I would just kind of follow in their footsteps in that way, to keep consistency, but also to give it kind of our own spin. Shout out to OP. He is the graphic designer who's made all these amazing visuals for our show. So I did want to also highlight a lot of his work. We use a purple palette, but a lot of similar designs, and I kind of wanted to keep that going, right? That kind of keep in the spirit of SojuTalk. So long story short, it's really just a tradition to kind of keep it going. But I think podcast platform would probably be best. And Warren has talked about this, that he does consider himself more as a podcast show than a YouTube show. But I think overall, it's just kind of nice to be on both platforms and to kind of carry on the traditions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, podcasting has been growing, the last however many years, but YouTube is definitely still a default for a lot of people, and most people don't, I guess, know how to do podcasting or aren't that experienced with like navigating the audio platforms in order to find podcasts you want to listen to. So this definitely makes sense. But of course, I know the SojuTalk community or SojuTalk Nation, my bad, are very well versed in the podcasting realm. So this makes sense for you. So what I did before this interview was I asked Anton to send me his top, at first I said top 20, and then dwindled it down to top 10 favorite K-pop songs of all time. And he gave me a list, I guess going down from 10 to number 1. So I tried to work in my questions based on the either name of the song, the vibe of the song, or whatever the theme of the comeback was at the time that song came out. So the first one, number 10, is Bon Voyage by Yua of Oh My Girl. And I am curious, Anton, when you created SojuTalk Nation, what was the plan, and what was the sort of the starting action you took in order to start this journey or trip, in order to say, like, Bon Voyage, I am recording this podcast. Oh God, I told you it was gonna be horrible.
That was perfect. I know
Sweet.
exactly the
You get what I'm
question
trying
that
to
you're
say.
asking.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
No, if it's very fitting. So Bon Voyage by Yuya came out on September 7th, 2020. So right in the thick of the pandemic, right? We had been months in lockdown and isolation. And when that song came out, it felt like a fantastical reawakening. It was very much about nature and reconnecting with the earth and the world. And it was very different from what she had done in the past, and what she was known for. From Queendom in 2019, she was known as the Michael Jackson hip hop dancing girl. So this song was this indigenous cultural kind of shift with a bit of Studio Ghibli inspiration with Princess Mononoke, and how it kind of relates to my journey as far as opening up the podcast, the SojuTalk Nation, is that this song kind of made me feel reconnected to people. Kind of in that slump of the pandemic where we didn't know when it was going to end. We were kind of isolated, stuck behind our computers.
Sorry,
and now
1 second. My dad just walked in. I'm in an interview. Can you speak up, please? Okay, sorry.
Hi, Dad. No worries.
Sorry, continue, please. Thank you.
That's okay. And kind of finding a way to rediscover yourself, right? Open spaces, and trying to, release yourself from isolation. And starting the Soju Talk Nation podcast was all about connecting with people. It started off with my original co-host. Her name is Treasured Koala, or Tran M. And she and I became really good friends on the server. We went on voice calls and watched K-dramas with a bunch of people. And it was just a way to form that friendship and bond, and then incorporate other people and kind of expand on the conversation from just typing something on the server, reading a text message from someone, and not having that emotional context. And I was able to kind of reconnect and find like, oh, this is what this person actually means if you kind of listen to their voice. And that's how I brought in other people. And it felt really grounded in pre-pandemic days, back in the day when you were able to talk to someone and really get like that emotional feeling of what this person means. So Bon Voyage and the start of the podcast do coincide in a lot of the ways, because it did kind of lift me up from the weight of what the pandemic was at the very beginning.
Yeah. Now, I wonder, was it hard to keep the consistency of like the podcast, or have you developed a schedule that you really like, or, have you ever actually, don't answer that question because I have another song that's going to work into it. Okay. So without further ado, let's hear Bon Voyage by you. Okay. Amazing. Oh, and it leads right into the last thing I was going to say, leads right into my next question. So one thing I learned about you in our last conversation back in August, Anton, was that you do, in fact, have a pretty fancy job for a pretty cool company. I will not mention the company, but let me tell you guys, it's up there. And I wonder, speaking of fancy by twice, does this podcast ever feel like a job to you, or is it, fancy like your full-time job?
Fancy you. Okay. For those who can't see, I just did a little bit of the choreography. No, the podcast itself, well, let's kind of start with this. So the podcast gave me a lot of structure during a time when I didn't have a job. And it kind of kept me going as far as scheduling my day, figuring out how to schedule guests, and then writing notes and outlines. Some of you know, especially those who have worked on the show with me, I write a copious amount of notes, maybe an excessive amount of notes. I will dictate almost everything that the crew says. So that usually ends up being about 5 or 6 pages, single spaced. And then I have notes for myself. So it really did give me a sense of structure and kind of a deeper understanding of what I was trying to say, right? As far as it being a job, there are times now that I have a full-time job that I look at my to-do list and the show coming up, and it's like, oh, okay, I got to jump into this. And it does feel like an additional thing I have to do, almost like I have to do instead of a want to do, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it does feel like it has the weight of a responsibility of a job until I get started doing it. And then I find the fun again. So I think it's really one of those, the initial barrier of having to do the work behind it
Yeah.
is difficult.
Yeah.
But I also know that it's important because then the show comes out better, or the conversation comes out better, or discovers things along the way that aren't planned because you're able to kind of make that roadmap ahead of time. So I think in one way it does feel like a job, which any job has its challenges, and another way it feels like it's something I want to do. It's just a really fun pastime.
Yeah, I definitely can speak to the fact that when, building a podcast, especially if you're the host, only 10% of it is actually hosting. The rest, 90% is all this other like tedious sort of things that you have to kind of do that can, if you don't really like dealing with that kind of stuff. And that's the one thing, at least for me and doing podcasts, like I could host it all day, and then I will procrastinate till the day's end so I don't have to go through putting in the episode name, figuring out a summary, like the tags, like all, and then up. Oh, geez, no, thank you. Anyway, with that being said, what is your least favorite part of podcast producing, hosting, and that kind of thing, or even marketing it? What's your least favorite part?
Yeah, I think the marketing. I think everything after the show. So once the show is done, it's edited. I like the editing process. I like just being creative, although it's not a super heavy lift as far as editing, but I do like seeing something being made and created, right? And even the materials, creating the thumbnails and any photos I'll be using. That's all pretty fun. But then it's the posting it on Twitter, Instagram, and wherever else. Yeah. It's like, man, I really wish this was automated somewhere. I wish I could just like dump this to something or give it to an intern. I don't have interns. And then following up and engaging with that, it's like, oh man, like, yeah, I probably should do better about that part of the internet and promoting the show. But at the same time, once it's done, once it's out there for me, I'm kind of like, okay, it lives on the internet now. People find it. Hopefully they find it, then it's there. But I think, like you said, the marketing and everything afterwards, after the show's done, is my least favorite part of things.
Do you hope like are you going to try to scale up your marketing? And I wonder also, this is a question I should have asked before, but how big is the SojuTalk Nation like crew that helps you with the show?
So scaling up the marketing, probably not. I did open up a Twitter account recently. Right. To coincide with the main show. Main show is in 200. They did something new, so I was like, all right, I'll do something new. I'll be on Twitter now. So at least using Twitter as a way to talk about the things that I do regularly. So I posted concert photos and some of my thoughts here and there of like indie artists that I like. So I like to touch base on things like that. So I think that's probably the extent of like how the marketing will grow. Maybe something more in the future. As far as the crew for the SojuTalk Nation, I am a crew of one. Okay. I do everything. I schedule notes, graphics, but all thanks to OP, the graphic designer who kind of started it off. He set up my Canva account with all of the assets. So just plug and play kind of thing. Remove some backgrounds, move things around here and there. But for the most part, he set me up for success immensely. So he's still around. He still helps me here and there, but for the most part, he is a full-time student. So and we're in different time zones. He's in Cambodia and I'm on the West Coast. So
wow. Yeah, definitely having those initial assets in Canva can be a lifesaver, time saver, and all things. And also you mentioned Treasure Koala. I definitely know that username through the automated sort of like news channels in the SojuTalk Discord. Okay, well, thanks for answering, the least or the less fancier parts of your, I guess, role working on SojuTalk Nation. So without further ado, let's listen to Fancy by Twice. Okay. That was Fancy by Twice. Now that we're back, one thing that I didn't know about you until after our conversation in August. Yes, in August. I'm like October, August. Was that you are, and I'm gonna butcher this, I know. You are a host slash streamer on the Dive Studios Discord. Am I saying that right? Or how would you describe that?
Almost there. So
okay.
moderator is
moderator.
My main role.
Got it. Okay.
And then I help with the engagement team and events at Dive Studios on the Discord. So anytime that they need kind of guidance. They can ask me, and I can kind of help them answer questions. I created a communications document of how events should look, sound, and feel, giving them certain verbiage and how to kind of communicate. Because a lot of times it's like public speaking, so it's one of those you have to like learn to kind of grow into it. So I kind of gave an outline for the engagement team to work off of. So I think in that sense, I'm more of a moderator with some reach in the engagement team, is the best way to put that.
That's such a wow thing. I can't even tell you, okay? Because Wow Thing is going to be the song we listen to. The collaboration sort of, was this an SM station?
Yep.
It was. Okay, with Red Velvet Surgi, Chungha, Soyeon, and from G Idol or Yoja Idol, and Shinbi from G Friend, or formerly of G Friend. Okay, pause. So you help out with the engagement team, which, first of all, that's a lot of work you're doing. Is this like a consistent sort of thing you're doing like weekly for them, or just whenever you come on and host? Like, how does this work? I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, it's very fluid. So the Discord, the Mindset Discord, Dive Studios kind of lives on its own, and we have the moderator team that makes sure the polices everything, right? As moderators do.
What kind of moderation are you responsible for? What policing are you doing?
Yeah, so there's I think a list of about 5 to 7 rules and guidelines on the server. I just make sure that people are following them. Conversations kind of get steered in the right direction. If there are photos with personal identifying information, images, addresses, first and last names, I delete them, and then I open a ticket. So we have a ticketing system for everything. So everything's documented.
So are you going through every single channel every day looking for this? Like, how are you finding this?
So going through the channels when I can, but then the other members on the team, there's 7 of us, will also go through the channels. And then the engagement leads will also ping us to let us know, like, hey, something's up. Can you go ahead and create a ticket, make a message, delete something? And then that's when I'll kind of get to it. The other members on the team have been really active over the past couple of weeks. So shout out to everyone there, because I think they've been lifting a lot more than I have recently. So shout out to you guys. But yeah, I've kind of helped out with the verbiage and communication for that as well. So we do have some canned language that we just copy and paste into the tickets. So it's not that the moderators have to create like this brand new message every time. So I kind of created the document for that as well. So just easy copy and paste for things that are similar.
What is the difference between, I know Dive Studio / Mindset Discord channel has to be far and away larger than SojuTalk's Discord, and so I just wonder, like, despite the large amount of people that are in, this large disparity, I should say, between the two, what other key differences do you see like between these two channels? And I know like they could probably be maybe a little bit sensitive to totally mention, but if you have anything that you can think of that is able to be said, what would you say are the key differences or similarities that, of course, I'm sure most people are K-pop fans in general, and both, or not. What are the differences that you see?
Yeah. I can speak to this for sure. It's pretty transparent. So the Dive Studios Mindset Discord is very much based in a company. So I think that's the big difference between kind of a fan server or just a podcast server of community members versus something that has an income coming to it, whether that's the Dive Studios shows or the Mindset app themselves. So on that sense, we have to be a little bit more strict with how we navigate certain situations because we are representing an entity that is taking in money. So there has been some questions about why certain things are moderated, why certain moderation is a little bit more heavy than other servers. Well, it's because of that. It's because we are representing a company at the end of the day. I think that is kind of the big difference. And then because it's Dive Mindset, there are times where we do have access to some of the well-known names. So Brian Nam and Eric Nam sometimes pop in. They popped in a little bit throughout the year. I know Ashley has, I think, done something or at least been visible. Denise Kim has been pretty visible. I think Tableau did a
Oh,
Discord stage a few months ago. So yeah, just your K-pop celebrities that are tied into
that's
Dive
so cool.
Studios, we do have access to them. So I think that's a pretty cool kind of gift to the community members.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think those are kind of the main differences.
Okay. What about in terms of the users? If you had to just like say demographic wise, like would you say Soju Talk members or the Soju Talk Nation in the Discord are more you know into K-pop, whereas Dive Studios slash Mindset is more into hip hop, Korean hip hop, or and of course like Mindset has more than just Korean artists on there. Like in terms of like their interests, do you find any key differences in that?
Yeah. The demographics for Dive Studios Mindset definitely reflect the general Korean audience far more similarly. A K-pop
Really?
audience. Yeah.
Ah,
Not
okay.
Korea itself, but K-pop. So global fandom of K-pop
Mm-hmm.
typically is predominantly female, between
Mm-hmm.
the ages of 14 and 25, 24, 25. And
Mm-hmm.
that is very represented on the server. As far
Mm-hmm.
as fandoms and music, it's varied. A lot of boy group fans, because it's mostly female, and
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of fans that have come in for Eric, and then all of
Right.
Eric's guests, right? So I think a lot of the fandom primarily focuses on K-pop, but more of the I guess it's K indie, or this the
Huh.
less K-pop forward facing artist,
Yeah.
because I would say like someone like Woo isn't necessarily on a music show, right? But then
Yeah.
he is very prominent and well known kind of in that space. So I think a lot
Yeah.
of the fans kind of fall under those categories.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, speaking of the well-known names that you get to interact with and things like that, it seems like Dive Studios has been
Adjacent, very far adjacent.
okay, adjacent. You're still in the you have
Yeah.
access than many people probably better access, I should say. And more knowledge. And speaking of that knowledge, it's pretty clear that for quite a while, it seems even starting with a K-pop debug show, or when it was K-pop debug, Eric was trying to get some of the Stray Kids members on. And it seems like recently they've really been teasing that Pangchan potentially is going to be on. Sir, do you have any spoilers? Can you tell us, is this for sure or not? With your probably better intel than most of us.
So I will say Brian, Eric's brother, has done a really good job of not spoiling things recently. See, I would say if you asked me 3 months ago, I probably could have spoiled like everything, because he would just get on like a voice call or a town hall meeting stage, just like
Mm-hmm.
spill the beans on all the guests coming up.
Okay.
But I think he's done a better job of internalizing the feedback from the community, saying like, "Hey, man, like we love it," but at the same time, you're telling everyone. So I don't have
Mm,
too much on that. There are teasers for either the Dive Studio shows or the
mindset.
Mindsets
Uh-huh.
new collections,
Mm-hmm.
and those kind of go hand to hand.
Right.
But I don't have any specific details or confirmation, I guess is the best way to put that, for who's next.
What a media trained answer that is. I mean,
Thank
I
you.
really wish you got, I could dig, I could, but I won't. I understand. I understand. Anyway, okay.
Well, let me give you an
Yeah.
example.
Okay, go ahead.
So JB was
Yeah.
spoiled probably like 3 weeks ahead.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
So
got
I
it.
probably could have, if you asked me at that time, it was like someone from God 7, someone who has 2 letters that could be his name. I could have said that, but
Oh my God. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But the Stray Kids stuff, I actually truly don't know and
You
can't
don't know.
confirm. Yeah.
Can neither confirm nor deny. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm kidding. With that being said, hopefully it's a wow thing for all of us to potentially see what happens, and potentially if there's any Stray Kids members on the podcast. So let's listen to Wow Thing, the SM Station Wow Thing. Da, da, da. Okay. All right. So coming back from that, so like I mentioned about 5 times this episode, we spoke back in August, and we were supposed to meet at KCON, and unfortunately we didn't. But after our conversation in August, we talked about the post-concert like depression a lot of people feel, especially after KCON and Head in the Clouds being that weekend. It felt like, dang, there's like it's ending. Like it just felt like a dropout. And I certainly felt it. But I know you didn't really, because you continued to go on going to many concerts. Like you went to 3 the next week and then 2 after. I don't know. It was almost as if it was your last concert that you would ever go to, or this would be your last year. Shout out Blackpink, as if it's your last. It was almost as if that was the case, with the amount of concerts you at least went to those 2 weeks, I should say. So since then, I would love to know, first of all, how many shows have you been to since KCON? You can totally like name them off if you can remember them. And then I have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, I'd say 9, but KCON kind of counts as 2 or 3, right? The way that works out.
So, okay. So including KCON, you've been to 9 shows.
Yeah, 9 shows. Let me try to rattle them off. So it's Woosung, Stray Kids, Luna. That's 3. And then KCON 2 days.
Woosung? Wait, when did you go to Woosung?
Back in Oakland, back in the spring. That was my first thing that I went to. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, got it. Woosung, Stray Kids, Luna.
Card.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese Breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Joji.
Mm-hmm.
Then Nikki twice. Santa Cruz and San Francisco. That's 10 technically.
Didn't you see Junie or DPR?
DPR is the Friday, October 7. So very soon.
Are you going?
I am going. I'm gonna be there.
Okay, of course. Yeah. Okay, what other concerts? So I know you're going to Junie. I mean, DPR. You're going to Alexa. Are you going? Hasn't Hypen been through the Bay Area? Are they going to go through the Bay Area?
I don't know if they're coming to the Bay Area, but they are. They did just do LA over the weekend. Will not be going to Hypen. Unfortunately, my friends are not here. Yeah, okay. And my Engine friends are not here. Yeah, so they did not drag me. I would have gone. That would have been fun. I like Polaroid. That's my favorite Hypen song. I listen to that song all the time.
Yeah.
And then Blackpink.
Okay, sorry.
Very. Yeah, they are touring. But I'm not gonna be going to their show. Blackpink in November is the next one. Oh no, just kidding. This month, Camp in LA, the music festival. Yeah, where everyone's gonna be there.
Whatever, man. I'm so jealous. Oh,
I'll see you there. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I know. I already know those dates. I specifically checked them, and I have to. My grandmother's birthday is that week. I can't. But we'll certainly be living vicariously through everybody for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So after Camp is Blackpink in November, and then in December, Yerin Beck or Beck Yerin. From 15 but just an amazing coffee shop soloist. I love her music. It is winter time for sure. Yes. That's in Berkeley. Very fitting for a hipster girl music like her to be up there in Berkeley. So that's the last show I have scheduled for the year so far.
If you have a chance, you should go to the Rose as well. But I'm
looking. Those tickets are hard to find, man.
They are. They've done a good job of selling out, I would say. But okay, cool. So you have your plate fairly full through the end of the year, and I'm sure I guess maybe December is probably going to be like a slower season, but I'm sure Jingle Balls will be very packed with the usuals, being like Monsta X and things like that. I don't know if they'll go, but I feel like they've been to every single Jingle Ball in the last 4 years. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be going and adding more to your list. Now, you mentioned how, and I know it's a little bit hard to do at these arena type shows, but I feel like at, more intimate shows, it's fairly easy to see people that you've seen around a bunch at a lot of shows. You recognize a lot of the same faces. You said that your Engine friends did not, or like they're not in town, so you're not going to see and Hypen together. First of all, are you okay with going to a concert by yourself, number one? And number two, when you go, whether you're with somebody or not, do you network with people that you maybe have seen a lot, or do people recognize you, or how do you go about that? Or do you just go to chill, vibe, and enjoy?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's very flattering that you think people recognize me. That means a lot.
I don't know.
it means a lot. I'm not as famous as yourself, but It's a big honor for me to be on your show. Come on, to be honest.
Oh my God, stop, please.
Yeah. For
Anyway.
your first question, yes, I go alone. I think I've gone to almost all of these shows alone, aside from like two or three. Yeah, I think all the shows that I went to after KCON, I went to alone, minus Nikki in Santa Cruz. I took my cousin.
Okay.
Yeah, he was really happy to go because he
Mm.
had not gone to a concert since before the pandemic. So that
Oh,
was nice.
nice.
Yeah. So I do like going to concerts alone. I'm the person that vibes in the back,
Okay.
especially if it's a venue that doesn't have seating.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the place to be. There's a lot of space. I can move. I can dance. Um,
Easy
if I'm
access to
in
the bar.
that is exactly why I'm at the bar making friends with
Yep.
the bartender.
Yep.
It's you get me. You get me.
I same mindset. I'm like, I don't
Same.
really care to be in front. I want to get drinks.
Totally. Yeah, because the way I put it is like there's diminishing returns when you get to a certain point in the crowd, right? It's like you can only get so close to where now it's uncomfortable, you're too close to other people, or you can't really see because you're over shoulders, unless you're like at the barricade or maybe like 10 feet off of that. Then to me, it's like, then I'd rather just be in the back.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. You know, who was it for? I can't even remember now, but some of these shows in Atlanta at least have not been completely sold out, but they're still, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. There's some shows that have not been sold out, but there's still, that usual like 5 to like 50 person line that's like camped out trying to get barricade. And I'm like, listen, we could all get there at the show start and you will still get barricade. Okay. At least here, this is Atlanta market, but anyway. Okay. So interesting. All right. Well, hopefully this year it won't be your last. It won't be your last time seeing Blackpink perform as if it's your last. So without further ado, let's listen to As If It's Your Last by Blackpink. Okay. Coming back. All right. The next song, I'm gonna be honest, it is really hard to incorporate anything smooth in any sense with this song. So the song is HSKT, or Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. And it's by Lehigh. And the inspiration behind the question has to do with the sort of album deep dives or focuses of the week. And I know that you do like, comeback wrap ups or like monthly wrap ups, but you definitely also like you'll name certain shows based on a certain album or whatever, what have you. So how do you make sure to cover from the head, shoulders, knees, toes? Or how do you decide which albums in that sense to truly deep dive? Is it based on your preferences or is it based on topical things that everyone else is talking about? How do you decide that?
Yeah. So I'll just be completely honest. It is based 100% on my preferences.
Okay.
It does depend on when the album was released. So I do like to be within a window of 2 to 3 weeks. Actually just 1 to 2 weeks, really. But it's really an artist that resonates with me, or an artist that I feel like has had a meaningful impact on my experience as a K-pop fan. Lehigh is, I think, hands down my favorite soloist from Korea as an entertainer. Everything from her singing ability to kind of her musical inspirations and her direction after YG really just shows a maturity in how she's able to express herself. Even in her music with YG, I think she did capture as much as she could as far as kind of growing into her sound. Definitely being a younger person, being part of the K-pop kind of system. She, I think, did the best she could. And I think the relationship she built during her time at YG definitely helped her propel to get to the point where she released the album last year, For Only, with Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, which is an incredible song. Shout out to Weinstein. He's on there too.
Yes.
Man.
Great song. Love that song. And Only is a great song as well. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's head into Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, or HSKT, by Lehigh and featuring Weinstein. Okay. So we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so we're halfway through. Now this next question has to do with the people that listen to your podcast, aka the SojuTalk Nation. I wonder, in describing them, are you able to sort of like, if you know, people are like, oh, like describe your fans. Like, are they oh, they're a funny group of people, they're empathetic, blah blah blah. If you are you able to describe Soju Talk Nation in sort of collective adjectives, or is it kind of like a Russian roulette where you can't necessarily categorize them all together? So yeah, Russian Roulette by Red Velvet's the next song. But how would you describe your listeners, Soju Talk Nation?
Yeah. Well, I do want to just big shout out to the crew also for having the Discord, right? And just having the Soju Talk Nation being that population of like built-in audience. I would say the most engagement I get from the community members who listen regularly are essentially my friends on the server. The friends and people who kind of quietly listen to the shows and don't really engage too much.
Right.
But I know you're out there. I know you're there. And I would say they have very similar sensibilities to me as far as what they're looking for in storytelling. Because I think it all really comes down to what stories we share with each other, how we perceive ourselves, how other people perceive us, and then where the truth kind of lies in the middle, right? And I think a lot of finding that truth and finding kind of the connection with another person is what draws a lot of listeners. In addition to sometimes Warren popping on and then we get a boost in like 200%, which shout out to you, Warren, for doing that. So for the most part, I think it's really people looking for a sense of storytelling and connection. And the people who are more vocal about it are my friends who I regularly talk to on the server.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that was an expert way of avoiding how to categorize your listeners. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, you know what I do want to know? Where are most of them based?
Oh, yeah, they are all over. So
All over.
I think most are North America. The podcast numbers show demographic breakdown. Surprisingly, 60% are women. Shout out to y'all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had no idea because I in my head I think it's mostly guys that come on the show, but I guess there's a good variation, a good like mix of guys and girls that come on the show. And then we've got some from Southeast Asia. I think OP has a lot to do with that, being from Cambodia, and having that reach. He has shared it with his friends in his community as well, so
nice.
A lot of his listeners do listen. And they are always, I always know when his listeners like really represent when he's on the show, and it's like an uptick. It's like, okay, I see you. Good job, OP.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's listen to Russian Roulette by Red Velvet. Okay. So, headed into the final four. So, I don't feel this as much anymore, but definitely when I was making podcasts and I started to see other people make them, I'd always be like, and I'd see actually, I remember when Dive Studios, when K-pop Debut came out initially, Dre and I were in the production, like literally we've been talking and producing or preparing to launch In My Fields podcast. And it was so irritating because the moment he dropped his podcast, it was like 2 or 3 weeks before our launch. And we were like, God damn it. Like, what the hell? Like, we were so irritated because I was like, I guess it's good because it's like massaging people wanting to get into podcasts, like with a huge, massive name, and a very experienced host. But at the same time, it was kind of like, I was looking at like, and then as time went on, I was like, why are his listeners like not listening to our podcast? Like we're interviewing the same people, like what? And so, similar to That XX by G-Dragon or GD, I was very much like, like in the song, I guess he talks about like the boyfriend of another girl, or Jenny in the show or in the music video, trying to get her. He's like, who is this? I'm not gonna curse. Who is this person?
Dude.
This dude that I don't like.
Who's this dude?
Yeah. So sometimes I would look at those unrightfully so, like, why are they listening to his podcast and not ours as much? So anyway, with that being said, I would love to know, do you actively listen to other podcasts? Of course, besides, Soju Talk, are there any other K-pop podcasts or just podcasts in general that you like to listen to?
Yeah. So I don't listen to other K-pop podcasts because I like to make sure I kind of formulate my own opinions before I make my own notes and shows. So even with the main show, I don't listen to their shows until like maybe like a week or two later, just because I want to make sure I'm like ingesting the content, ingesting the music video, writing my own notes, and then I'll follow up with how they thought about it and see where we align. Over time, Warren and I have gotten so similar where it's like,
really?
I'll look at my notes. It's like, oh, I wrote that a week ago. You just said that. That's
Ah.
cool. Thanks.
That's so cool. So wait,
Yeah.
do you get easily swayed or something like that? Is that the reason you do that?
I just want to make sure that I'm unbiased and that my opinions are at least coming from a fresh point of view. And then if I want to kind of include what they have to say, I'm making sure that I'm not just repeating what they have to say, right? I'm making sure I'm internalizing kind of my thoughts and opinions about a song or a release first.
Why do you think that's so? For myself, I like to, I don't quickly formulate opinions on my own. Like, or if I do, like they're easily not changed or swayed. They're easily swayed, but also they just change for whatever reason. And for me, I always feel like it's better if I hear other people, because then it helps me to like get a sense of everything and experience it. Why do you think it's best to have a fresh opinion? I guess people are coming to listen to you, not like regurgitated like melds of everyone else's opinion. So, but I guess in that sense though, why is it important for you to have a fresh opinion, would you say, or a fresh take?
Yeah, I think it's also like the relationship I've had with the crew, right? I've known them for over 2 years now, in various kind of ways of interaction. I've had all of them on the show, so we do have a rapport, and there's a lot of I would say unconscious things that just seep in, as far as you hear someone every week and you don't really know where your opinion ends and theirs begins. So if I get all my thoughts out first, then at least I know when I need to reference them in something, because I definitely like to source them if they have a thought about a song, and I'll make sure I include that in the conversation piece, right? Either as a question or I'll kind of reference them specifically. So I think for notes and for the show purpose, that's where I kind of make the delineation.
Okay, interesting. Okay, huh? That is actually really cool. I'm certainly not. I don't trust myself to come up with an educated opinion without hearing other people's first. But that is really cool. Maybe I'll try that one day. But anyway, with that being said, let's listen to That XX by G Dragon. Okay. And now we're actually kind of on it was like you'll see at the end, it's an SM sandwich and YG's in the middle, because there was GD, and now we have none other than Big Bang. So like you said, you've had a lot of the crew on as guests. And besides me, I would love to know who is the opposite of a loser or Yangachi or Suregi. Who has been your favorite guest on your podcast?
Man, you're gonna put me in a very tough decision.
Top three. Okay, top three.
So, top three. I mean, I could say okay. So definitely, it's Warren. Has come on several times. Him and I have a great rapport and kind of a great back and forth. I think we've kind of developed that over time, where our shows just go super smoothly. We did a monthly recap. I think back in May or June. Early spring, late spring, early summer, and we went for almost 2 hours, just the two of us, and it felt perfectly fine. We just kind of it was good. So I would say Warren is up there. Koro Sensei, or Koro, has been on several times. Him and I also have a great back and forth. We have very similar taste in music, in the sense that we kind of see things the same way in a lot of ways. We're not afraid to challenge things, but in a way that is not disagreeable. I think one of the things that I try to hold on to is you can always disagree with someone. You can disagree about an opinion or a song, but it's the way you communicate things. And if you are disagreeable, that makes people want to continue listening, or at least want to continue in that conversation. So I think Cora and I have a really great kind of relationship in that sense, where we kind of know the line of saying something spicy, but also in a way that's accessible, fun, and honest. Right. And the last guest, who is pretty frequent, so I'm between two. Well, I'll give them both. So Alice is great. She was on the draft episode where we drafted our top 10 playlist for the first half of 2022. That was a wild episode.
I can't imagine.
But it was super fun. And I think her and I have a great way of communicating with each other. I've always been able to kind of connect with women in the sense of kind of the emotional intelligence of how to communicate, and she does a really nice job kind of riffing off of that. And the last person I'll say is KME, K Music Every Day. Derek. He
Yes.
has such great insight with music production, and he has a calm about himself that really like gives it a very velvety smooth feel throughout an episode, right? Shout out to Red Velvet, his favorite group as well. So yeah.
I mean, I can't do a podcast without mentioning KME all the time. So I love the shout out. Thank you for doing that. And I know that I come in at, let's 1, 2, Warren's number 1. I will be a 0.5. So sorry, Warren. Gotta go.
The thing is, you got to make a second appearance, and then you will immediately go to S tier.
Oh, S tier. Got it. Okay, good to know. Okay, well, thank you for enumerating your top 3. Without further ado, let's listen to "Loser" by Big Bang. Okay. And now we have our final 2. Actually, all these people, I guess, are from the second gen. But this is the second to last song. We have, well, I guess you, Anton, and one thing I guess people who may not be familiar with you have probably gleaned is that you cannot be a lonely person because you spend a lot of your time in the discords of both SojuTalk and of Dive Studios and Mindset. First of all, do you know how much time you spend in Discord? Like, do you ever go to your phone app and see how many hours you spend in there?
Too much time. I would say the majority of my phone statistics are on Discord. As far as the app that is used, it's like, okay, that bar is quite large relative to everything else. I have a problem. I should probably seek assistance, but it's not going to change. And then I tried to like limit that by putting my phone down and only using Discord when I have the computer. But then that's also another problem because now I'm all on the computer for 5 hours. It's
like,
oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that's quite distracting too. Like I'm sure you've probably turned off the little, whatever that sound, that chime or whatever every time I message. Like I hate anyway. Also, I'm curious, how many Discord like servers are you a part of?
Actively a part of, I would say 3, where I'm kind of engaged and I'm doing things. I just I'm the person who goes into every Discord server because 1, I have Nitro, and then 2, I like to get the emotes. So I'm in every like groups. I have not reached the 200 limit yet. I have a friend named Delmonic who has several times reached the 200 limit. Yeah, I would say probably getting close to that 200 limit of the number of servers I'm in, but not actively like doing anything.
I thought you meant 200 emotes, 200 servers. Holy Jesus. Whoa.
Yeah, again, just using them for emotes. Sorry for all the fans and groups. You guys are great. Keep it up.
I love that. That's so funny. Wow. Okay. So and then also like when you go into like, I've actually never hosted something like, and also when I went into the Dive Studios / Mindset, sorry. Do they call it like, do they just say Dive Studios / Mindset, or how did they just say Mindset? Because I guess it's Mindset the parent company, or Dive Studios is the parent company.
Yeah, Dive Studios is the parent company. They've rebranded the Discord a couple times depending on the cycle of what's happening. So now that the podcasts are back, so it's Dive Studios Mindset.
Dive Studios Mindset. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So with that being said, like I've never seen that little like thing where you can call people like Twitter Spaces. That's like the most common, or I guess what was Clubhouse, RIP, thank God. But like the similar layout, I guess, like how do you, well, I guess it's very technical. I'm not going to ask you how you set it up, but what's the most amount of people you've ever had in one of your like hosted fireside chats? They're called fireside chats, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fireside chats. Yeah. So for those that don't know, on Discord, there is a option to do a stage which is a voice call with the host, and then everyone else can kind of sit in and listen, kind of like a live panel, live podcast, radio show. For the number of guests, I would say 40 is the most I've had. And that was at a time when we had super high engagement. Yeah, the community just super excited to be there all the time. We do have a lot of events throughout the week. But again, I think it's people pick and choose now that they know that there's a schedule. But before, when there was a lot of excitement, there was just like people all the time in every single event. So I would say 40 people kind of talking to them at the same time. And it's fun. I'd say it's a really nice way to kind of feel like you're at a convention panel all over again.
No, that makes sense for sure. Okay. When was the last time you hosted a fireside chat?
3 weeks ago. The one that you were at, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. That was 3 weeks ago. Why does it feel like forever ago? Okay. Interesting.
4 weeks ago? A month ago, maybe? I don't know.
Could have been. It feels like a long time ago, but either way, interesting to know. That's what a Discord stage is. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, actually, also interesting little tidbit. Big Bang, of course, 21 are in the same, or we're in the same company. And Loser and Lonely also start with the letter L. And actually, the same person, Hans Hamin, was the music video director for both Lonely and Loser. But without further ado, let's listen to Lonely by 21. Okay, now we are headed into the very last song. And I mean, gee, Anton, you really have quite the lion heart, because I was trying to find a way, like, you know, and listening to many SojuTalk Nation episodes, you're like I could tell, you know, in our interaction, but you're a very nice person, like very kind, very, like, you mentioned the emotional intelligence, and it rings true. You're a very good listener, and you're very, like, it's a very calming experience listening to your podcast. So with that being said, would love to hear, you know, for the people, I'm sure, or hopefully some of the crew in SojuTalk Nation are listening to this, but any last words that you want to impart before we listen to, we're gonna listen to G, but before we listen to G by Girls' Generation or Sonia Shide, for the listeners, any last words?
Yeah. Well, again, I always want to circle back to the crew, Doug, Warren, and Anita, with the main show at SojuTalk, because they gave me a starting point with kind of listening to K-pop in a different way in 2019. I think I was always a fan of K-pop, kind of on the surface level, seeing the releases as they came, and then finding YouTube videos that, you know, would talk about or review songs, but in a very contrived way, not in a negative way, but it's like super edited. It's like, these are all the things that have to be hit on the script, right? And opening it up to a very conversational way of engaging with K-pop, it was just a very freeing experience. And as far as everyone else and people that I interact with and hope to interact with in the future, I hope that we can kind of move that into the real world and, you know, turn the things that we say into how we interact with K-pop, whether that's criticisms or the things we love about it, into a way to actually like form a human relationship with another person, because there's always another person on the other side of the computer, the screen, right? And for me, I just kind of hope that that perpetuates in, you know, celebrating the thing you love in a realistic way. Because I think it gets confused, well, not confused, it gets kind of lost in kind of the process of engaging with something, where you can have an opinion, you can disagree with something, but you also have to remember there's another person there that may like it in a different way. So how do you find that common ground? And with everyone on the server that I've met and the community, and just like making this show over the past couple of years, I just hope that in a small way, I've kind of left an imprint of, hey, let's, you know, be friends, and let's take this from just voice, seeing their face on a video call, or even just meeting up in person for boba for 5 minutes. And I think those are kind of the things that I want to take into my life, and especially life now that things do feel like they're getting back to normal. Things have opened up, and it feels a lot more normal to pre-pandemic days. So I just hope that people will kind of find that solace in each other, because I do think there's a lot to the world if you kind of just like go outside and see it.
Right. No, and you know, remembering that someone is on the other side, that is something that I have to take into account now that I'm like out here trolling people. But I, in certain aspects of my life, I don't really think of the person as a person literally until I meet them. And then I'm all of a sudden like more like, oh, like whether and just for an example, like if it's work or something like that, and I like, we only have spoken to each other through Zoom, and maybe we don't turn our cameras on, so I don't see this person that often, and I'm like, oh, I just have to do this other thing, blah blah blah, and then I meet them in person, and I'm like, oh, now I want to like actually work hard on their project. I don't know. That is just an example, but yeah, definitely remember, it's hard, but remembering and trying to humanize or make sure that you remember that the people are on, on the other side are human, if they aren't very good AI mimicking humans. Shout out to our favorite AI troopers. But yeah, no, that's definitely a great tip for sure. And again, exhibiting your emotional intelligence and remembering, the more important things in life, and expanding, just this K-pop world to more than just this K-pop world. So thank you, Anton. Thank you, Crispy Wonton, for being a guest today. Can you tell people where to find the SojuTalk Nation podcast and where to find you on social media?
Yeah. So the SojuTalk Nation podcast, available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, SojuTalk Nation, all one word. I am on Discord at the SojuTalk Discord. Pretty easy to find. Just type SojuTalk into YouTube or Google, and I think that pops up, and there will be a link to the Discord server there. But yeah, those are all the places you can find me. Pretty visible, but at the same time, quietly visible. So just feel free to ping me or give me a shout out somewhere, and I will definitely reach out and say hello if you find me.
If you find me. Love that. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I like, for a second, I almost called you by your like Zoom name. I was about to say, and I was like, let me not butcher. I'm sorry. But thank you for being, oh, wait, did you say you're half Filipino?
Yes, half Filipino and Chinese.
And Chinese. Okay. Did you know SB19, that P-pop boy group, they're going on tour in the States at some point this year?
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, have you heard of them before?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they're going on tour. I'll send you the link, but yeah, they're definitely going on tour. And I was wondering if you like had any, or if you that was going to be one of your many stops, I guess. But I don't know if they're going to San Francisco. I know they're for sure, of course, going to LA, and I'm pretty sure they're going to New York. But they're doing like a world tour, and it's like a 6-stop world tour. So it's like they're probably hitting the key places in each country, but they're definitely going on tour, which is interesting and cool. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for listening to the podcast / radio show. And let's listen to G by Girls' Generation.
How do you like being supported, and kind of what is the love and support that you seek from your friends?
I think just when they show interest in what I'm doing, and just a lot of words of affirmation, like, telling me I could do it, that I'm doing a great job, because I doubt myself a lot, and I need friends to kind of remind me that I am doing a great job and not to be so hard on myself. So yeah, I just feel really loved and appreciated when they'll, remind me that I am hardworking. Oh my God, so cute.